It's one of my favorite shows for sure.
Sweet. All right, well, that was our little warm-up. You ready to just hop into it?
I'm cool with that.
All right, cool. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ayoo podcast. Today, I got a returning guest, and it's always a beautiful thing when you have a guest return, and it's even better when, it was back in season 2 when we were, being, secretive and sneaky and Willie P, but now we're here in our own studio, so it's great. I don't think she needs any introduction, but for the people who don't know, please let the people take a couple of seconds, minutes, let the people know who you are.
I'm Lupe Dragon, and I am a alt-pop singer-songwriter from Linkin Park, and I'm a fucking weirdo, and I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I love it. Embrace the weird. Embrace the weird. That's perfect.
Embrace the
That's
weird.
perfect.
Yeah.
And for this June in Jersey podcast and in this project that we're doing, you said you were from Linkin Park. I have people describe how's your town? How's the place where you're from? Can you describe it to me?
Really suburban. Really suburban, very small town. The next person at the next house and here and there, and it's just very small. There's not a whole lot that you do there except, you just live and breathe. But it's a really good place to grow up in. Also, I live in an apartment, and the complex that's there, there's dogs and cats, and they're everywhere. And I really love that there's a community there. It's close knit. And yeah, I went to school there. I grew up there, and now I've been there for last 23 years of my life. So
that's sick. That's
kind of crazy.
Can I share something that I know from Linkin Park?
Okay, sure.
No, I had a teacher in Linkin Park, and
word.
And he's a trombone teacher who taught me how to play euphonium. And one day he took me on a drive to the center of town, I guess, whatever. And there's this it's a dentist office.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
It's a dentist office, but it used to be a tavern.
Tavern?
Yeah, it used to be a tavern. I'm talking about way back in the day. And actually George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, all of our forefathers would go there to drink. It was a place to go drink in Linkin Park. And now it's a dentist office. And actually, if you go in front of the dentist office, there's one of those little history signs that says the old something tavern and whatever.
I can't believe they got rid of that. That's insane.
Yeah, but it looks like it's like a whole. It's built with all those boulders and stuff. So
right.
It wouldn't be the most fashionable tavern, but yeah, it's a dentist office now. But if you ever want to split it, if the dentist office is, we'll make our own tavern, we could call it Hamilton's or something,
Hamilton's?
I think that would be cool.
Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, bro. We are waiting in the wings for you.
It's a good musical.
If you are not a Hamilton fan, stop watching right now. Just kidding. Stay to learn about Lupe. What the hell am I saying?
I'm such a Hamilton stan.
Hell yeah.
I loved it.
I've never seen it in person, though.
Me either, but I've watched the bootlegs and the Disney Plus one that they put up.
I literally watched that maybe 3 times now. It's just so beautifully done. And the Hamilton tickets, even today, they're still so expensive.
They're what, $500 just to get a good seat?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
And I think I had an Instagram reel come on recently, and it was there's good seats for the matinees, during the week. And I'm like, yeah, that's how all shows work, dude. I'm sorry that your $500 ticket went from $500 to $499. Great, it's $1 more affordable. Jesus. Anyway, Lupe, sorry, I'm going a little tangent there. I just feel so comfortable because you've been on the podcast before.
Right.
You were a great guest then. I'm sure you're going to be a great guest now.
Thank you.
Unless
not the little shady.
But yeah. So you said you're an alt pop rock singer. Tell me a little bit more about what you do, especially for the people who are just tuning in and who are too fake to listen to your last episode.
Too fake to listen. Be a little nice. No,
okay,
I'll be nice. Be a little nice. But basically, my music has changed a lot from 2019. So in 2019, I put out an EP, and it was very sugary pop, my sound has changed a lot, more verging, mixing rock, but also mixing rap. Actually, a blog just called my last song I know you did punk rap, which like I've never heard that before, and I looked it up, and it's an actual thing, punk rap. Like there's groups out there that do punk rap. So yeah, so I guess I make punk rap, and basically my music has kind of evolved in a mixture of a lot of different stuff. I take stuff from hip hop and from pop and from rock, and I kind of just blend it into my own. And I think I don't like to put myself in a box, but if I have to, I do say alt, because alt interprets basically all the things that are under the sun, and there's no way to kind of just box yourself into something. So that's kind of just what I do when I write.
And I feel like that's the classic like alt thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, yo, like my music isn't like anything specific.
Exactly.
But you know what's funny? I feel like all the music that is alt now, like I hate putting too many subgenres. Like, you know what I mean? When you say punk rap, it's like you're a punk rap band, you know, and it's like when you do put yourself in like
weird.
Like who's gonna go to that type of show like right now, you know what I mean? Like if that was part of a bigger show, it's like, oh cool, you know, but like to lead the charge into that, like why not say alt rap? Yeah,
like alt rap. Except like my music's not exactly rap, it's definitely pop, but there's a little splash of rap, and it just kind of comes out of nowhere, and that's just kind of how it started. I was always a singer, like I talked about in the last time we did this. I sang in choir, I did drama club, you know, I did stuff like that. I never ever in my life thought I would rap on something that I wrote, unless, you know, it was like a one-off thing, and then it didn't become a one-off thing, and now I kind of splash a little bit in every song here now and then. And it's cool because it kind of just started out like the poetry. Excuse me, I got some stuck in my throat. The poems that I would start to write, they would turn into songs, and if they got a little too like long, I would chop it up, and then it became like a rap, and that's kind of just how it started. So it wasn't exactly something I tried to do. It just kind of happened on its own. So
yeah, no, I could definitely appreciate that, because you know I used to be in a rap collective, you know. I was in it was called Melting Mindset.
It's funny. Sick.
Thank you. It's come up actually in a couple podcasts now when I'm talking to people, and they're like, "Oh, you rapped?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, you know, like it's funny because you don't necessarily want to say rap, because it's like, you know, when you think about rap, who do you think about? You know, you think about the biggest rappers today, like, you know, Travis Scott, Jack Harlow, and then like, you know,
and Kendrick.
And Kendrick, and then it's like, you know, like you can't compare your music to like, you know, what Kendrick does. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's two different beasts. Like it's the kind of the same genre, but it's kind of like being like, oh yeah, you know, like a scooter is a car, you know what I mean? Because they both have wheels, and it's like, yeah, they both have wheels, they both have similarities, you know what I mean?
But they're not the same.
Yeah, not the same, different purposes, you know. And I kind of like to be like a little cop out and be like, yeah, no, I'm a poet. I'm a poet. Yeah, that's what I am, you know. But
yeah, I'm a poet.
But I kind of gotten more into poetry, you know, more recently now, and like I would like to get back into like rap and stuff, but it's difficult, you know what I mean? And I think it's hard to do it in a way where it's like you're comfortable with it, and also I feel like it's hard to improve in rapping, you know? Because do you ever look at like your first, like, you know, like what you would call rap, and you're like, I'm way better now?
So with Summertime, which is like the first time I did like a rap verse, it was good, but compared to like what I write now, it's like mid. So like I definitely see that, but also I was writing like corny pop songs. So for that part of my life, it worked, but now it's kind of like I don't want to perform that song anymore, because now I've just kind of verged into this very ominous, sad music. So it does not fit on a set list now. And also, again, my writing has improved, and I think that's a good thing, to cringe at your old stuff, because if you don't, it means that you're not evolving enough.
I like that. I love that for sure, you know. Because I mean, there's definitely stuff like you definitely have like, you know, probably like one or two songs that you like from the beginning that you're you know. And summertime was catchy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, in the summertime. I listen. I'm a Lupe stan.
He's
stan.
totally
Yeah.
Lupe stan.
Hell yeah.
I do think that Not the Same was a better like rap verse though. And I actually took that song and I was like, this is what I want to make. And all the other stuff that's on the EP is the stuff that is not part of my life anymore. So honestly, that song, Not the Same, actually is what kind of made me want to go more into like the dark stuff and pulling out a bunch of stuff that I didn't want to talk about, but like I need to talk about in the songs that I wrote. So
sweet. So how do you feel like you've been venturing into more uncomfortable territory when it comes to your songwriting?
Absolutely. The last song I put out, I Know What You Did, is kind of like, I mean, I've had that song for about 2 or 3 years, but I finally put it out because it was ready and it was something that was not great to put out because it showed like an angry side of me, which is like the ugly side, the disturbing side of, like a breakup and whatnot. And then I actually do have the master for my new song. I'm not going to say the name of it yet, but basically it's about 5 minutes long. It's the longest song I've ever
I mean, that's
made.
Pretty long for like a song, especially like.
But there's like a lot to say. There's no rapping in this one, but it's definitely more of like a rock-based song, and there's a lot of content in it that I'm not comfortable usually sharing, and it makes me nervous because it's just about love and like falling out of love and being in love, and like that's something I talk a lot about in my songs. And I think the tough part is coming to the term of like the society that we live in is like people are afraid to get attached and people are afraid to fall in love. And so I talk about that a lot because I still haven't gotten into that phase of like having the muse, like that head over heels, like I've definitely felt it, but not enough where like this is what's taking over my inspiration right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like I take inspiration from people and places and things that I've experienced, because if you have no human experience, you can't exactly like write about it. So like, I'll give you an example. Halsey just put out a new song called So Good, and it's a love song, and if you are a fan of her, you know that that's like not her thing. She's again very dark and ominous, and she basically said, I think someone asked her if she would have put it on the Manic LP that she put out, and she said, like sonically I would, but in terms of the content, I would not, because I wrote Manic when I wasn't, like in love. And if I had met my boyfriend at that time, like I wouldn't have had to write the LP. And I feel like that I resonate with a lot. Like I feel like I can't write about love to that extent until you like experience it. So I write about heartbreak and I write about all the other stuff because that is what I'm going through right now. So I can like continue to work on that wheel to get to that point. Like, you kind of get what I'm saying? Like,
no, for sure. I'm very much a big supporter of like writing what you feel, writing what you know, because I've actually talked about it on a couple podcasts recently. It's like the more visceral you can get in expressing your music, like you want to take your visceral emotions when you're writing and then put it in a way that's can be artistically consumed by your listeners,
Exactly.
I think that's the best way of putting it. And it's hard because like, like for example, the immediate visceral reaction of like, if somebody cheats on you, right? It's
Exactly.
like, fuck you, go get hit by a car. And it's like, well, you can't just be like, fuck you, go get hit by a car. And then it's like, oh, well, that song's cool. I get what you're feeling. It's your visceral reaction, but it's really corny. And then it's like, how do I say fuck you, get hit by a car in an artistic way, but that's also backed by music and maybe dives deeper into those thoughts, because then it's also about like, oh, like when you really get into it too, it's like the aftermath, like for example, a whole arc of a breakup, that could last maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months,
a year,
and then it's like if you write a song at the end of that year, it's like, oh shit, how do I condense my story in 3 minutes with the guitar and lyrics and like, you know, everything else, you know?
And me, I had to do it in 5 minutes,
Yeah.
but honestly, it could have been 10, it could have been 20. I kept just writing and writing and writing until I got it all out, and it feels good. And I can't wait to put out this new song because, again, I feel like it's also something that people need to hear because, again, like, as an artist, I think one of my jobs is really just to connect and be able to relate to people and be able to be uncomfortable, you know, be comfortable with being uncomfortable, to have people just listen and relate, because I feel like, you know, like that's how I get through my rough days is I listen to a song and I relate to it and I'll like sing it in the car. I was listening to the Halsey song and I was crying in the car today because I was like, this is beautiful. It's kind of sappy, kind of corny, but like it's something that you like feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
in 3 minutes.
I think those sappy, corny feelings, it sucks. I feel like artists who are more established get away with that stuff more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And as an up and coming artist, it's like you are really pushed up into the wall and be like, hey, I can hear this corny shit anywhere. You know what I mean? You got to give me the best that you fucking... And sometimes it's even like some songs that I really hear like indie artists or up and coming artists, right? Sometimes it's way more creative than stuff I hear on the radio that's like mass produced, you know?
That's true.
And like, you know, once you get up there, but it's not saying it's like a bad thing too, because once you're up there and you've worked there and you're up there for a reason, you know, and you hear these corny feelings, like I said, some of those things are easy to hear because sometimes people just need to hear like a fuck you, you know what I mean? Sometimes people just need to hear like,
fuck you very much.
Yeah, dude. And even
I agree.
Actually, I think a perfect corny song that's actually like lit, you know, that makes, I know people like. I actually saw them live recently. I went to and I think they're called AJR.
I love AJR. Oh, they're great.
Yeah,
they're so good.
I went to go see AJR.
They're talented.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. I went to go see them recently at the Forest Hills Stadium in Queens. Amazing venue, by the way. Absolutely incredible. It was definitely a cool experience. And opening for them, they had Blue Man Group.
Blue Man Group? Really? Group. I haven't heard of them since 2005.
Dude, I actually don't even know if they fully opened for them because we missed like the first 20 minutes of the or like the opening acts of the concert, first 20 minutes, because we were getting drunk at a restaurant beforehand. So like, you know, Blue Man Group and this group called Gale. And Gale is the one who made A, B, C,
yes,
D, E, F, U.
I fuck with Gale. She's really big on TikTok right now.
Yeah. And she is, vocals
very good,
on point. You know what I mean?
I've heard really good things about her.
But isn't like, you know, that lyric itself, you know, like kind of corny? You know what I mean? It comes from a visceral place though. And
it does.
It's like one of those things where it's like, you know, I could get with it because it's like, you know, fuck you, you know.
But she did it in such a way where, again, viral, and also just the content in it before you get to that hook, it like builds up, like you're giving them something to look forward to, you know what I mean? And I think that's like the good part of like a more of like an anthem type song, because that song is not something I'll say like, oh, it's like the best song in the world, but I'll say it's something I'll look back and like, if I'm having like a really bad day and I'm pissed off, I will listen to that song and be like, fuck you, da-na-na. You know what I mean? And I think that's the great part about TikTok. You know, I mean, there are good and bad parts about TikTok. I love TikTok, but I also like hate it because it's hard for the artist now to kind of just build a following. Like the algorithm now is just kind of just crazy because it's saturated now, you know? Like a couple of years back in the pandemic, and I beat myself up now about it, is like I didn't jump into that fast enough when everybody was kind of just hopping on it, but it has been so good for small artists to get discovered. You know, I started listening to Doja Cat more, I think because of all the songs that repeated on and on and on TikTok. And then I was like, I gotta see what the hell this is about. And the same with Gayle, same with Stacey Ryan, who's like the jazz singer on TikTok, the one that's like, don't text me when you're drunk. She's also really good. A lot of people that I've met on there, well, not met on there, I wish I met them on there, but like I found them on there just scrolling through TikTok, and I think that's like we're in a crazy world where we're hopping into Web3, and also like we got like 5-second memes on TikTok, and it's like Vine 2.0. Like, you remember Vine?
Yeah, of
Vine
course.
was crazy. Like,
Vine was wild.
We had Shawn Mendes from Vine, you know, and like the MagCon boys, and like
Jake Paul, Logan Paul.
Oh my God, Jake Paul.
King Batch.
So much from there.
I think was Charlie Puth on Vine too.
Charlie Puth? I think Charlie Puth was on YouTube for a little bit. He might have been on Vine.
What's his name? Oh my God, why am I? Bo Burnham.
Bo Burnham.
Bo Burnham was
on
Vine like crazy, like back then too. Yeah, he was really popular, you know. But you know, speaking of these artists, and you know, like being in TikTok and their algorithm being saturated. It's weird. I was social media managing at the beginning of this year, and I dove into the world of like algorithms, TikToks, Instagram, and like how to get your stuff popping on there for 2 months. And I completely just studied the shit out of it, like every single day. And what I ended up learning from it is that although it is saturated, the algorithm does promote small artists, but only small artists that are creative to the specific platform. You know, it's very hard to get popping on TikTok if you're not posting every single day, if you're not interacting with everybody who's in your comments, if you're not hopping on the most like recent trends, and on top of it, not paying attention to how the algorithm is changing. Like, for example, Instagram, and especially what I do for the podcast, I have to change the way that I approach things for the podcast, and for sure when I'm done with June in Jersey, I'm not gonna be posting up like 3 reels a day with the Polaroid and exactly how I do it. I have to change it up. And before, reels were only allowed to be 30 seconds.
Right.
Then they turned into a minute. Now it's a minute 30. And it's like, damn, it's like, and then what people don't know is like when they made the news about reels being a minute 30, they were promoting minute 30 reels. So if you were making anything else that was like, you know, like not that, then you weren't getting pushed up by the algorithm. But who was there telling you about that?
Exactly.
Nobody, you know?
Nobody.
And it's like the only way to look at that is to literally day by day study it. And it's like, as an artist, it's like you're already doing so much. You're worrying about your music. You're worrying about your job that's supporting your music. You're worrying about writing your music. You're worrying about mixing it, listening, communicating, you know, networking with other artists.
That's the problem.
Yeah. And, you know, I was actually explaining this. I had an awesome conversation the other day with a Mr. Reg Mason, someone we had in the beginning of June in Jersey. Right. And he was here, and I was like, listen, if I was an artist doing it all over again and I was building a team, out of the top 2 people, if I had, like, it has to be one of the first 2 people that you hire. It's just a social media manager. Like, literally, I think, like, if you're looking to promote your music like that in any way, having someone who's specifically looking at that every single day and learning the algorithms and telling you what to do, and you could just let your creative ability be yours. You know, it's almost like asking an artist to be like, hey, can you go into the booth and give your heart out while recording your music, but can you also mix the song at the same time?
Exactly.
It's impossible. It's so hard. And yeah, there's some people who do it, but it takes so much longer to do something, you know? Like, I know people who sing in the booth and then they end up mixing the whole song. But a project that might take, you know, if you hire an engineer, a project that might take like 3 months, if you do it yourself, it might take 6. It might take a year, you know?
That's true.
The TikTok, Instagram conversation is it's a rabbit hole.
It's a lot.
It's a rabbit hole. Have you found any success in between your TikToks or Instagrams or?
So it's weird because the beginning of my time on TikTok, which might have been 2019, 2020, I was getting a fair amount of views, maybe 200 here and there, 10, 12 likes, you know, like the basic stuff. But then I didn't post for like a while just because, you know, like I just did not want to post.
Yeah.
And then now I'm lucky if I get 2 likes, and that's the algorithm that sucks. But I've been posting now 1 TikTok in the morning every day for like the month, the end of May to the beginning of June, you know, I've been doing this. And it's been getting around here and there, but I'm still not getting the results that I want. And like my result is I want to have more people that listen to me that are not just friends with me. Like I want the organic like audience to build, and I feel like it's still not there yet. But I still work at it. I don't think it's something I should give up, but it's definitely something that needs to be worked through because the algorithm, again, you know, like it's something you have to look at and play with and get on the trends. You know, like do a TikTok dance. I mean, I'm not gonna do a TikTok dance, but like I'll make like a meme or something like that, and like those have done. I feel like my TikToks do better as reels than they do as TikToks. That's the funny part because like one I did got 4,000 views on reels, but then when I posted on TikTok, I got like 1,000 views and like no likes. I'm like, that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me.
You want to know, hearing it, I'll tell you why it's not crazy for me. One of the pieces of advice and kind of why I slowed down posting up all my reels on TikTok, even though I knew at the beginning before I even did June in Jersey that I shouldn't be doing this. They're like two different lands, right? And it's you could think about like TikTok as the beach, and you could think about like Instagram as the woods. You know what I mean? Right. And it's like they're two separate entities, but you're both going for enjoyment and entertainment. But what do you do when you get bored in the woods? You go to the beach. Why? Because it's a whole different scenery and you get a different product out of it. And when you're tired of the beach and you want to go camping, what do? You go to the woods. Why? But they're both meant for entertainment and to get stuff from it, right? So it's like if you're and this is, like I said, this is asking a lot from your creators. I know I'm speaking like it's easy, but it's not. Because it's like your content on TikTok and Instagram should be different. And it sucks. Because it's like, TikTok's algorithm and what they push out is different than Instagram's. Well, Instagram's different than TikTok, right? And the only way they will both do good is if the content itself is like fire. You know what I mean? And that's when they'll both do good. And that's difficult because that means if you want both of them to hit equally on it, it's like it has to be like crazy. And the best thing I've learned from TikTok and Instagram is don't care what you put up. Don't think about it too much. If it's embarrassing, whatever the fuck. If it gets no views, whatever the fuck. And you never know what does. You know, I don't know if I mentioned. I feel like I talked about this on the last podcast that we were with together. And it's funny because he actually came on the podcast earlier in June in Jersey. Did I tell you about that priest who got like 7 million views on his TikTok?
I don't know if you told me about this.
Well, either way, if I told you or not, I think this is a great story I told a lot of times on the podcast. And actually, what I was just talking to my boy Aaron, who's in the studio over there, I social media consult this priest and his company, right? And this man is one of the most consistent posters I've ever met in my life. And consistency means everything in the social media world.
That's so true. Oh, absolutely.
Everything. And it's like the algorithm rewards you for being consistent. And the proof of concept, I've been posting 4 times a day, every single day on my Instagram. And my viewership my viewership has grown by 200%.
That's amazing, yeah.
And my reach, I think instead of hitting like 2,000 people that I've been hitting like regularly posting every week, now I've hit 12,000 people in the span of 7 days, right?
Wow.
Within when I was posting weekly, in 1 month I hit 2,000 people. Now in less than, it's not 7 days. In less than 10 days, I've hit 12,000.
This is 4 times a day. You've got all that content going out.
And it's just going out. And then also like the algorithm will push old content if people start liking it. And that's how kind of things like start building momentum. Anyway, so I kind of got off the topic. But
I mean, that's basically what I've been doing now with my Instagram is like if a cover I put on TikTok does well, I'll post it on my reels. But now like you got me thinking like I gotta start to change it up a bit. Like it's a work in progress.
No, for sure. And I'm just telling you because I care about what you do. And it's like, for example, somebody finds you on TikTok, right? And they're like, oh my God, this girl is dope. And they're like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go follow her on Instagram. And they go on your Instagram, and all they see is the stuff that you put on TikTok. It's like, what is making them stay on your Instagram page? And when people migrate from your Instagram to your TikTok, what is making them stay over there? If it's the same stuff that's there, they might get bored. And this is what it gives me it gives
You're
me
getting a little
pain.
mad now.
No, it gives me pain because it's like, fuck. It's like, just consume my content. Just consume
Right.
my,
I get that. That's what I want people to do. I want more people to do that so I can make this my life and I can leave my 9 to 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, it takes 2 seconds to just like it. Why can't you just like my shit on Instagram and like my shit on TikTok, right? But people, I've said this before, you got to treat them like babies, right? And like with a baby, and I literally have my little niece now, right? I have my little niece and I'll play with her, right? And it's like everything I give her entertains her for about 15 seconds, right? And where did TikTok start?
Short
You know what I
term.
mean?
15 seconds.
15 seconds, you know what I mean?
It's more than mine.
Yeah,
It's more than mine.
Yeah. And it's wild, dude. Like I'll give my niece my hand and she'll start playing with my finger, right? And then I'm like, great. And I'll relax for like 15 seconds. And then wah, wah, and I'm like, oh damn, like and then she'll see my hat and I'm like, okay, here's my hat. Wah, wah. I was like, damn.
It's not enough.
Yeah, it's never enough. It's never enough. But once, like, she has a playroom and then she has a crib and then she has a little walker, you know what I mean? But they're all there for different things, right? So it's like you have YouTube Shorts, you have TikTok, you have Instagram Reels.
I forgot about YouTube Shorts. That's another thing I haven't tapped into, really.
Yeah. You know what? You might find a lot of success. YouTube Shorts is one of those things right now that's still kind of in its infancy. And let me tell you, the YouTube algorithm is great.
I'll try that.
For sure. I've actually seen some crazy success before on Shorts.
I've actually scrolled through a lot on Shorts and stuff. And there's like a podcast that actually showed up. It was the Teacher Off Duty podcast. And so I'll just watch like the clips from that. So it does work and it'll keep, being in the news feed because I watch it all the time now, which is kind of cool. So that's definitely, I posted 2 of my TikToks on Shorts and they didn't really do a whole lot. My thing is I'm a perfectionist. If something does not work the first time, I feel like a failure. And that's like a horrible thing to like expose myself about. But I think that's why, because now I beat myself up about not getting super into TikTok because I was like, oh, well, I'm never going to get some success from this. But I feel like talking to you kind of like makes me want to try a little harder because it's hard because it's like me, I'm creative when it comes to writing my songs, but when it comes to creating content, I'm not a content creator. I'm a singer. So like a cover for me is my content, but that content is not like, it's not adventurous enough or it's not like enough for people. So like I'm still trying to explore like what exactly is going to get someone to really like look and be like, well, this is worth it, like I would like go to a show, I would buy a song, like, you know what I mean? And I think that's the tough part, and some people are good at it, you know what I mean? Like Honey Revenge, they're a great band on TikTok, and they like milked their new song for about a month or 2, and now the song is dropping the end of June, but they were milking it, and people came back to their page, and I came back to their page. And it's like I'm trying to figure out, how do I try to do the same thing and make it where people want to come back for more? I think that's the part I'm still trying to work out.
Well, I'll say this. One of the hardest things about being an artist and putting out and trying to get popping on TikTok or Instagram Reels. One thing before I get into this, I just want to get this out of the way because it was in my mind what you were talking before.
Right.
YouTube Shorts is actually one of the only places that you could just put in your TikToks, put in your Instagrams, and it doesn't even fucking matter. You know what I mean? That's the one place where I just say go ham. You know what I mean? Because I just want to get that out of the way real quick.
I remember that.
What I was gonna say is, what's difficult with artists and their art is that you want your art to be perceived a certain way.
Yes.
And you hate when it's perceived in a different way.
Yes.
And it's like when you like, oh, like it's like, I don't want them to think I'm corny. I don't want them to think I'm this.
That's exactly it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right? But the thing is that there's either one of 2 things you could go about it. If you don't want other people to judge your content or your music in a certain way, then you're just gonna have to fucking 100 100% just dive into your music and let your music speak for yourself. But the problem with that is that there's no exact timeline or way that you could see that it improves. You know what I mean?
It takes longer.
Yeah, it takes way longer.
Now it does, because now, like, not to cut you off, but basically back in the 90s, we had the artist development for artists. Now labels say, well, you have to develop yourself and then maybe we're going to sign you. That's how it is nowadays. And part of that comes with the media stuff that you do. Like, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. If you're not, no one's gonna look at you, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, I think one example of an artist who did not give a fuck, who decided to just go straight into, like, the deep end of, like, he didn't care how people looked at him. He didn't care what the media said, and just lived off of the fans who did like his music in this certain way. Sorry, I'm taking a long time to get to my fucking point.
This is fine.
XXX Tentacion, right?
XXX, yeah.
When he released Can't Keep My Dick in My Pants, right? Like that,
it's called Look at Me. Put some respect on his name.
Listen, when he released Look at Me, right?
Yes.
And it was like, Can't Keep My Dick in My Pants, and everybody was going wild, and you got those mad toxic fans, some toxic fans who were going to his, like, who were just going to his shows. But
I was, not to cut you off again, but I was talking to a girl in high school at the time, and like, she had like the t-shirt with his mugshot on. When I say, like, to a T, he had a fan base, but please go on. He was good at it.
And when he released that, it was like he built this whole fan base of people that maybe he didn't even want, but all he knew is that these people were supporting him, right?
Exactly.
And once he got his base, right, he was like, okay, cool. Now I could release my other shit, and they already fuck with me. And the thing was is that his music was already at a level where people could consume it, and it was good, you know what I mean? Or at least artistic enough that it was just like, oh, cool. He doesn't need to keep putting out hype music for people to like him. An example of an artist who hasn't done that, and who has, like, you know, he has cool hype music, but ever since, like, since he doesn't make hype music anymore, or like his later release haven't been hyped, nobody likes him anymore. That's Lil Pump, you know? When was it, like, some of Lil Pump's music is like, okay, I could bump my head to it, you know, regardless of how you feel. There's people who's fans, and like, you know, if I'm drunk at a club and his most famous song comes up, I'll be like, great, you know what I mean? But besides that, his whole discography, I don't give a fuck about, you know?
Well, you said Lil Pump, but I thought you were going to bring up, like, Lil Peep and Goth Boy Clique, because I think Lil Peep is kind of like, he kind of came from, like, the same place that I did. He was making, like, the videos he put out was like on a crappy, like, green screen, and he just put it out and people liked it. And the songs that he put out, it was in the beginning badly, like, mixed and mastered, you know, but, like, he put it out and people liked it. And then he was playing the basement shows and stuff like that. And they played the game, and they just played the game, and that's really about playing the game. And that's the part that I'm still learning, is playing the game, showing up for it, and not throwing the towel in. Because there's so many times, I think within this past year, that I thought, like, sorry, I'm going to throw the towel in, I'm going to give up on my dream, and this is everything I've wanted for, like, a long time, because, you know, society is changing so much. But I think the one thing that's kept me in is, like, the music does speak for itself. Like, when I play a show and when people come up to me, they're like, this is good, you know, like, this means something. And I think that's the part that said to me, I'm not going to throw the towel in. I'll play whatever game you want me to play, and I will play the hardest, because this is what I want. You know what I mean? So I'm about to get a little emotional on Ayoo Chill right now.
And you know what?
You know what I mean?
No, I definitely get that. And that's why I kind of respect the shit out of what you do ever since like day one, you know? And I think that's why we get along in conversation a lot, because I understand your struggle, you know what I mean? And I understand performing in what I remember the number one thing I would tell people, and they're like, oh, do you know Lupe and shit? Because I'm sure you've heard people, like, talk shit and be like, oh yeah, no, Lupe's kind of cringy, and, like, you know, like, oh, like, when she performs, like, what the fuck is she doing? And it's crazy, because when I first saw you perform, I was like, yo, this girl's putting her heart out on this fucking stage, and she does not give a fuck. And seeing you run from edge to edge on the stage, I was like, yo, listen, if her shit's not popping now, if she keeps this energy, she keeps this momentum, eventually something's gotta hit, you know? It's got to, you know? And it's like, it's keeping with it. And sometimes it's about changing up your shit and changing up the game. And, you know, what I was trying to get to, you know, with like TikTok and Instagram and all this shit, it's like X played the game in a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, where he made this song that he knew was going to be hype. He knew people were going to be behind it, but he also knew inside how his real art was. And I think his realest art came out in his last album that he had before he passed. You know,
I agree.
I feel like that was the X that he always wanted to come out, but he needed to play the game first to get a fan base and to get everybody liking him. And he did that through, you know, like ridiculous, like, you know, like making a ridiculous song. That's the game he played. When it comes to TikTok, you know, a lot of this shit is like, you know, oh, I wrote this song because my girl cheated on me, and this is why you need to listen on it. You know what I mean?
I literally made a TikTok like that.
But that's what you need to do. And people might look at it and be like, yo, this girl is cringy for doing this. Like, who cares? But then a lot of other people will not, and they'll be like, cool, I'm gonna look what this girl does, right? And it doesn't matter who looks at it. It's the fact that they look at it, they consume it, and then the best point of view, the best thing that you could get from people looking at your stuff is just like, okay, they've consumed my music. Now that I got them to sit down and consume my music, do they fuck with my music? And then from there, you're like, okay, cool. What do I do next? What else can I feed them so they could tell me I'm doing better or I'm getting worse or like, you know, how I improve, you know?
Yeah, like the feedback helps a lot.
There was this one there's this one artist, right, who I had on yesterday, actually. I actually think his podcast is going to come on after yours, I believe.
Okay.
His name is Nitty B. It's Nitty B, or the Nitty B, right?
Word.
But Nitty B, right?
Nitty B.
And he's an Indian rapper. And he doesn't rap in, like, you know, the Indian language though, but that's his nationality.
That would be kind of sick though.
That would
but
be
like,
kind of sick. That would be
still cool.
Sick. But yeah, and you know, he has a TikTok that got semi-viral. I'd probably say like 80K or something like that, like views, or 100K, whatever.
That's amazing.
He has 110K followers on TikTok.
That's good.
And the TikTok he has pinned, he's literally the most TikTok video I've ever seen in my life. He's like, hey, I'm an artist and I wrote a song because my ex cheated on me with my best friend and now they're getting married. And it's like, right? Look at your reaction. It's like, oh fuck,
that was bold.
Right. And
that was bold.
Guess who clicked on the song to listen to it, right? And it's like, boom, now you got a listener, right? And it's like through that, like, and it's weird because, like, you know, I love you, Nitty, but I look at those TikToks, and whenever artists do that, and the first thing I'm doing is like, yo, that's embarrassing to have to, you know, put the camera up, and you know, it had all the little, like, you know, like the my best friend, you know what I mean, different colors, right, to appease the eye and get the person interested to look at the thing.
It would get me to listen to it though.
Yeah, but like, you know, I was like, damn, I was like, you went through that shit? Oh fuck, well, I'm gonna listen, and then, you know, you listen and you're like,
did that actually happen?
Yeah, that actually happened to him. Yeah, that actually happened to him. Isn't that fucking crazy?
Oh my god!
And it's even crazier when it's the truth, you know. So then you're like,
hurt him?
Exactly, you know. And that's exactly when you have to be like, damn, I'm gonna listen to him. And then you listen to music, and if they listen to your song, and after they listen to your song, they're like, oh, I don't fuck with it, or like, you know, like, oh, I do. Then you'll see that come in, you know. But it's so difficult, it's so hard, and you know, if just to kind of close, like, if you have any last thoughts on this conversation, because I know we've been going off on this, it's hard to put out something and be like, I don't give a shit, and be that cringy person, you know. I have on my Beto Music TikTok, right? It's less of just music, and it's me just like being like, I think there was this one I posted up of a real estate agent, and then there's real estate.
I think
agent,
I saw that one, yeah.
Yeah, and the real estate agent was like, "Oh, look, this is a $1 million house," and I was like, "Girl, I could barely afford a 4x4." You know what I mean? And like, I thought it was funny, but sometimes I look back at it and it's like, I'm weird, you know.
Yo,
but then all of a sudden it gets 700, you know, like fucking views, and then like 15 likes, and I'm like, oh shit, like people like this, you know. And it's like, as long as you get those small people and you get a couple people, you'll see the floodgates going. But it's just to break it all down again: consistency, not giving a fuck what you put up, and playing the game, no matter how cringy you look, you know. Because how many people hated X, you know? How many people hated X? And how many people were like, yo, this guy is like fucking weird. But then he's also the only artist in, like, who I've ever seen got Kanye West on a Screamo song, you know?
Yo.
How does Dick in My Pants Boy turn into I got a feature with Kanye West? I got Kanye West to feature on my song.
He played the game.
He played the game.
He networked. He knew the people to talk to, and he knew that he wanted it. And that's why it worked.
And you're great at that. I know you go show to show. I know you perform. I know you're out here talking to people, you know.
You know, performing, it's been hard. I'll perform, like, I played 2 shows last weekend, but I won't host shows anymore just because it has been hard just to get people to show up. But I am trying to do it again, because the problem was back in the day, I was playing like 5 shows a month. Like, I was insane. I was hosting shows. I was going to shows. I was performing at the open mics, and the audience was literally all my other friends who are also going on stage in like 5 minutes.
Word.
I think the thing which shows that I personally need to work on is getting more people who not necessarily are directly linked to me and actually just like want to be there to discover something new. But I love playing shows. I think that's like the best part of putting something out, is to actually like show how it was supposed to be perceived, and performing that is the best way to do that. And I love to perform.
Yeah, it's the high. It's what we need.
Yes.
And you know, like I think as a performer, you find any way possible to perform. And honestly, I feel like this podcast is kind of mine. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's like it's my outlet, because I don't get to perform as much as I want to anymore. But like, even though this podcast is cool and making like, you know, the shit, I would take one show and just have like even like 50 people watching me do my thing, than recording like 100 podcasts, to be honest.
It's so cathartic just to be able to release that to the world, to people, like without being shy and stuff like that. And that's so weird to me, is like, I'm not shy when it comes to performing shows. And if I mess up, if I forget a lyric, like, I don't care. I keep going. And that's the part, is social media kind of in a way made me shy. That's like when we're talking about the TikTok stuff, and that like the reason why I don't post like a cringy like I've been told a lot, oh, so you're gay, so be on lesbian TikTok and like make like the cringy gay TikToks. And I'm like, well, I don't want to make them because they're cringy. And if you've never been on lesbian TikTok, it's Pride Month. Go on lesbian TikTok.
Shout out June.
Not in that way. Shout out June. Not in that way, but in the way that like we're very cringy people. And like, I'm not afraid to be like, yeah, I'm gay, and like make a joke about it here and there. But it's so weird because on that platform, it's like people are very, very a little too comfortable with saying stuff. And I think that's the part that kind of kept me away from some of the cringiness. But now I realize that I should probably just say fuck it and make a weird gay TikTok, because you know just like jump into that for and do it only for the gays. Do it only for the
like, why not? Like I said, you always need to just get out of your comfort zone, and then, you know, always read the responses though. I will say that, because you also don't want to close yourself off to a niche. You know what I mean?
True.
You want to be as open to everybody as possible, but also milk the people who are supporting you the most. You know what I mean? Because once they start flooding in, they'll bring others as well. You know, that's kind of how it all kind of ties in together. You know,
that
for
is
sure,
true, though.
For sure, 100%. And I'm always here to support you. You know that, Lupe. I got your back.
I feel the love.
You were talking to me before we started the podcast about something you want to talk about, specifically about music and how it kind of ties in with your emotions. Do you remember that? Or I could bring up something else if you want.
Yeah. I was basically just saying, I feel like, you know, like I said before, it's really hard for me to write about love without really experiencing it in the moment. And when I do experience it in the moment, I write these really sappy songs. But like, I think the problem that I'm having right now is I feel like people are going to get tired of hearing kind of the same thing, but in a different way. Yeah. But like, the thing is that like, let's look at society right now. People in general, they're too afraid to get attached, and they're too afraid to fall in love, and they're too afraid of this. So then they have hookups, and then they do this, and then you do that. And I write about that a lot because it's something that is going on right now. You know, it's not 1992 anymore. We're in 2022. There's Tinder and Hinge and Bumble, and a lot of it is good. Like I've met a couple friends from that app and stuff like that. But then another bad part of it is just like the connections are not always genuine. And I think that's the tough part. And like I write about that a lot because I feel like transparency is also something that people don't really do enough. Like just like say what you want, you know, like tell me what you want. And that's kind of like what I wrote in Distance. Like, you know, someone was like mad that we had a breakup, but like they wanted to break up. So why are you mad about it though? If that's what you wanted? Well, I didn't, well, you know, like, and that's the part that's frustrating. So like I write about love a lot because I'm a sap. I'm obsessed with love. I'm obsessed, you know, like we talked about like Grey's Anatomy. I'm obsessed with like the Derek and the Meredith type stuff and like One Tree Hill, like Lucas and Peyton and Brooke and Julian, you know, like having something that's cohesive and magical and romantic. And I'm still not in that place to write something like that yet, but I've definitely written lots of cringy, ooey gooey love songs, but I don't think I'm at the liberty to release that yet until I feel like I have like a muse in my life. And like that's definitely something I've been working on a lot this year, is just basically kind of working on, first of all, my life, what I want out of life, my music, because those things come first, and then seeing like how I can become a better person and a better partner, and also attract a better partner, because that's also really important. But you know, I love love. Love is beautiful, and the way that I love what I do with my music is like, it's so important to me, and that's like the same way I would love a person, how I've loved a person, and like, you know.
Yeah, no,
that,
totally.
like, deep stuff.
I completely agree. Like, you know, bringing back what we were talking about before, have you ever thought about like, because I feel like if you ever, I was actually thinking about this a lot lately with actors, right?
Right.
Not a lot of actors have actually experienced what they act all the time. Although if you do ever act in a role where it's like, I've experienced that, you know, they turn out better, you know? So like in high school, when you do like musicals or like, you know, like straight plays or anything, I don't know why they call it straight plays. Not in June.
They're, you know? Not that straight. Let's be real here.
But
I've been in a couple of them.
But you know, in high school, you know, they usually try to put like, you know, the kids in like the, you know, the part that fits them the most, right?
Right.
So they could act the best it out. But they always say like a good actor can play any role without like having to experience that. You know, obviously some actors feel different way because like there's you could method act, and method act is like getting into the character and becoming the character,
which is insane to
which
me.
Which is insane, right? But in a certain sense, I forget who I was talking to about this recently, about songwriting and stuff. But they were like, we were talking about this whole topic, right? And with that, my example being said, they're like, isn't it insane that you could only write music of something that you felt? And I was just like, no. I was like, what I felt is what I tell the best. You know, like, fuck that.
Exactly.
You know? Right? But then he was like, but what about like saying other people's stories? Like, what about like writing music for the people who can, you know, who can express what they feel?
I mean,
and they're not musicians, right? Like, have you ever thought about like storytelling, like, you know, like writing, or even like, you know, getting into that mindset? Because like, I feel like that I feel like this is where I could relate to you,
right?
Like, and be like, yo, that's uncomfortable for me. Like, why would I write a song about something I don't know? But then, you know, through these podcasts, you know, I almost feel like, you know, for example, like the girl who I had on, shout out Bria Miko, and she was telling me her whole story about her domestic abuse journey and how she was domestically abused as a child. And like, you know, yeah, and it's terrible. But at the same time, I'm just like, damn, like I'm a musician. If I went through that, I'd write a song about that, you know, like, because that's how I would cope with it. And I was like, damn, like, it would be crazy if I could write a song for people to cope with that as well, because not every person who's domestically abused is a musician, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's true.
And it's like, you know, hearing that story, and like, it's almost hearing that story, and especially hearing someone who's a good storyteller, it's almost like you feel those emotions directly. And it's like, once you feel those emotions and hold on to them, it's like, oh, fuck. And then it's like, you're a musician too, so it's like, damn, what if I put these emotions onto a piece of paper? And that's what I think eventually when I get back into songwriting. Eventually, at some point,
Eventually.
you know what I mean? Eventually.
Right after the hiatus.
Yeah, right after the huge hiatus. I remember I was supposed to release this whole EP, and I still have songs in the bank as well. You know,
Oh my God.
it's crazy.
Gotta put it out.
Yeah, but you know, eventually when I get back, I definitely want to test myself. You know, because it's like all this knowledge I've been learning from all the artists I talk to, and all the networking I've done, and it's like, oh shit, everybody has their own thing. Everybody has their own gig, and it's like I think the best I've ever. It's always the best. Like it's common between all the artists that I talk to is when they get uncomfortable and they do something that's completely in a strange land. It's like, holy shit. It's like sometimes the music maybe in that strange land that they make in that place isn't the greatest, but the lessons they learn from trying and doing it, it's like, and they bring it back to their shit and they're like, oh snap. Poof, everything's just opened up. You know what I mean?
Which is why I try to experience a lot with the stuff I put out, you know, the production. Like the production for my new song is like nothing I've done before because I've done more just like, you know, like the pop sound, but like this is very just like rock, hardcore. And I think that's great. I feel like when you're starting out and you don't really have a fan base, like I have a fan base, but I still don't know who my fan base is and I'm still like growing. This is the time where you want it to do whatever the fuck you want and experiment with that. And I think Russ, he said it best. He basically said, you know, just keep putting out stuff and just see what sticks and be consistent and just don't give a fuck. Like, this is not the time to give a fuck. This is the time to not give a fuck and just kind of like work with that and work with the people that, you know, you love the most and just challenge yourself a lot. And I feel like I've been doing that a lot more. And actually the storytelling thing I never thought about. I guess for me, it's just like weird to kind of tell a story that's not my story, but I feel like that would be a good like writing exercise to try to kind of just tap into that. I think that's awesome, you know, just to try something else. But like, yeah, I think most of where I've written from again is just very sad girl like type deal. But people like it and they relate to it, which is like, I won't say a good thing. I think it's kind of bad if you relate to it, but also good because you like it, but bad because like, well, I'm sorry, that sucks.
Yeah, you know what's funny?
You know?
I don't know. Somebody asked me the other day, they were like, oh, when you are going through pain, are you the type of person who drowns themselves in like, you know, sorrowful music and like heartbreak songs? Are you the type of person that like, no, I'm better than that. I'm gonna listen to like, you know, fuck you songs and like, you know, happy songs. And they were telling me, they were like, hey, like I'm the type like, no, fuck you songs, I'm gonna listen to happy songs and completely forget about it. And I was like,
I can't do that.
yeah, no. I was like, I like my Sam Smith. I like you know, when I'm super sad and heartbroken, my Sam Smith, my Adele, oh, my Frank Ocean,
my Demi Lovato.
Oh, my Demi Lovato. That's true too. Like, you know, who do you think your music? I know you still said you're still trying to find your fan base, but ideally, who is your music trying to be pushed towards?
That's a good question. Definitely more women. My Spotify for artists has told me actually a lot of men listen to me, like 60-something%, which is crazy. So I definitely want to appeal to more men, definitely more LGBT space, you know. I don't think I tap into that enough. And definitely people who are looking for something that you wouldn't hear on the radio. Just not mainstream, like, because I don't think there's one song that I've put out that's like close to stuff that you listen to on the radio, because that's just not what I make. And people who are looking for someone not to sugarcoat shit, because I don't. I think that's important, and I think that's the fan base I'm trying to look for, is someone who just wants something raw and fresh and something you could also mosh to, but also stuff you could cry to. So I think that's kind of where I'm looking to push my stuff to.
Sweet. One thing I wanted to bring up to you, because obviously I am a Lupe stan. You posted up some TikToks recently, or I think it was some reels too, where it's like I think you submitted your music to like a music website or music blog.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
Talk to me about that.
So I had the idea one day, like, oh, like this stuff is like funny. I'm just gonna post it up. I get weird responses from blogs when I submit my stuff. I'll either get good responses or weird, or like they just have some weird stuff to say. Like they'll say, you know, the vocals are good, but like the drums are dry. And I'm like, well, what does dry mean? Like, can you explain that? And then I got one from a blog. I'm not going to like name the blog, but the blog said that the music is good, but our mileage varies. And I was like, am I a fucking car? What does mileage mean? What? And
there's just some haters.
But then the last one that I got, which was the last stuff I put up, the blog compared me to a non-binary UK rapper named K Tempest. And by the way, they are super awesome, but I didn't know about them until I got this blog response. And they said, you know, it's all cool and whatever, and then you start to rap like K Tempest. So I'm just trying to let you know we don't take folk stuff. And I'm like, but I don't make folk music. I make alt pop. I literally put that in the description. But anyway, shout out to K Tempest. Please collab with me, please. I think you're awesome. But it's cool because that the blogger exposed me to another artist and compared me to someone I had no knowledge of before, and now I am obsessed with them.
Sick.
Super awesome.
You know, maybe that's a good idea for like a TikTok, you know, promoting that song like that. Like, why don't you like just make a TikTok and it'd be like, yo, listen to this new folk song that I wrote, you know, and then just see where I think making people like angry is the best shit ever, because I'm telling you right now, the number one thing I've learned in this space, in the internet, all press is good press. All press is good press.
For the most part.
For the most part, but the only thing is that all press is good press if you have thick skin. And ooh, girl, you're going to have to get some thick skin. You know what I mean? Because when those haters come, those haters bring eyes. And those eyes are everyone. You know what I mean? Because when you're making noise, it doesn't matter. Like if you hear people cheering, you're going to look. If you hear an explosion, you're going to look. You're going to look. You know? And when you hear, everybody's going to look.
I definitely do have thick skin. I think like you kind of have to be in this space, because if you don't, you're not going to make it. Not at all. Actually, speaking of clout, I've had someone in the comments of my video for my last song tell me cap. They deleted the comment before they said something like, "You're still thinking about her. This is all cap. I'm like, well, you're 12, and the picture that you have for your profile is Goku, like with 12 subscribers. Like, all right.
Yeah, get your subscribers up, boy. Don't be talking shit. Don't be talking shit. And if you talk shit to Lupe, you know where to find me. Ayoo Podcast.
Fight.
What's up?
Let's fight.
Yeah, come talk some shit on my podcast. See what happens, dude.
You see what happens.
Or girl, whoever the fuck you are.
I don't know.
Goku ass motherfucker.
I thought it was just so funny because it's like, I don't even know who you are, dude.
Yeah.
But
people love to hide behind the screen.
Yeah, exactly. But the engagement's helping me. So keep bringing in the comments. Bring it on.
Bring on the comments. We'll comment back. We'll say what's up. We'll say what's up. All love. Like, listen, as I said, all press is good press. Help me out. Help me out. Make the algorithm loves interaction. And I love interacting with my lovers, my haters, and my love haters. Shout out Reg.
DM me, comment on my stuff. I will respond right away.
Hell yeah. So what do you think while going through these blogs and getting the comments back, and how do do you still get a lot of hate? And if you do, like, how do you deal with it for the most part? Because I feel like, we talk about having thick skin, but no matter how thick anybody's skin is, you get to points where it's like, fuck, I'm bothered.
That's a good question. In the beginning, I think it was tough because when you first put something out there for people to critique and judge, it's kind of like a wake-up call, like, oh, like, not everyone likes me. You know, you're not everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine. Most of the blogs have been more constructive. Like, they're not like dicks about it. They'll be like, you know, like, I would have mixed this a little better, or I would have, you know, maybe done the drums a different way and stuff like that. Or they'll say, you know, this isn't really for our playlist. This isn't really for our blog. It doesn't mix, you know, because sometimes I'll just submit to whoever, you know, just to try to get it out. And sometimes it doesn't, you know, mesh. But the way that I really get through it is, you know, at the end of the day, I kind of, you know, take what they say with a grain of salt, because yeah, it's upsetting. Kind of feels like a stab to like the back a little bit, but like that wound will dull out and you're going to make something better. And you're going to get better and better and better. And again, there's people who like the album that Logic put out like 1 or 2 years ago, you know, but then a lot of people did not like it, but some people did like it. And at the end of the day, everyone is a critic nowadays, so it doesn't even matter, you know. And I think that's really what pushed me to kind of just be like, oh, well, you didn't like it, but this one does, and this one does, and this one does, and the playlist placement I got here and here and here says that they like it. So if you don't like it, that's fine. But these people, they love it, so like it doesn't matter.
For sure. I feel very much the same way, you know, looking at it. And you know, like you said, everybody's a critic, man. Everybody's a critic, and especially on the internet where you could just hide behind your cell phone, your page. Because I imagine a lot of people wouldn't say this to your face, you know. And
definitely not.
But I also think there's some love in between, like, you know, definitely taking some criticism and finding the right people that you trust to like just tell you, like, you know, hey, I think your music needs a little bit leveling up. Or sometimes, you know, it's hard. The hardest thing I find about being an artist is believing in yourself, believing in your craft, but also someone telling you to switch it up.
Actually, yes.
Because it's like, fuck. It's like, all right, I believe in myself. I fuck with my music, but my closest people are telling me to change it up and switch it up. Where do I go from here? You know? And it's a crossroads. It's definitely a crossroads, because it's like, how much time do I put into experimenting between how much time do I put into what I know, you know? And I think the best thing about DIY and, you know, up and coming artists and people is just experiment, you know? Exactly. Experiment the fuck out of stuff, you know? Like, I honestly think that is the future, and I think that is that's going to be a lot of the culture of what's coming to Jersey, you know. Like I've talked to so many artists, yo. I've talked to so many artists, and I'm still having so many artists going to come on the podcast. And the biggest thing that I find in between, like, all of them, because, like, you know, there's so many rappers, there's so many, you know, alt people, you know, there's so many R&Bs, there's so many, and it's like, fuck, like, what makes them different? You know what I mean? And that's the hardest thing. And part of it, like I said, it's playing the game, having faith in your art, and kind of just going all over the place. And I know I keep talking about him, though, but like, I honestly think if X was still around here, dude, he would have changed the whole, he would have turned the music industry on his head.
Oh, he definitely would. Yeah. Same with Little Peep, same with Juice WRLD too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Juice WRLD, rest in peace.
We also lost Juice WRLD too, and he innovated the game, really. Mm-hmm. Like, I still listen to him. Like, he definitely changed a lot of lives, and the music that he put out is kind of, you know, like the same thing. Like, he's like putting out, like, you know, like music from the heart, and he, you know, just poured it out, and people, they picked up on that. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that's important to say. I think it's also important to say that the opinion of people around you only matters if those people matter. Like, if you get an opinion from someone like across the street and they don't, like, you know, they don't know you, it hits different than someone who's close to you saying, like, hey, like, you should change it up, or maybe you could do this, maybe you could add a plugin, maybe you can mix it a little bit better, maybe switch your engineer, you know, like stuff like that. First of all, I lied. I have had people say that they don't like my music to my face. I remembered when you were talking before, there was someone I got involved with, and you know, when I first got involved with them, I was like, yeah, I'm a musician and I do this and I do that, and they wanted to listen to something, and they actually listened to Not the Same, and they were like, oh, this is horrible, why are you rapping? And I was like, because I don't know, it fit. And it's a song about anxiety and, you know, depression, and like, this is just, you know, from the heart, and like blah blah blah. And the person went back and they were like, are you trying to make me feel bad for you now because you wrote a song about anxiety? I'm like, no, but you're kind of being mean right now, you know? But it's like stuff like that. Like, obviously, like, that person does not matter because, you know, if they don't get it, then they don't get it. You know, again, you don't have to be everyone's cup of tea. And that's like a big thing to kind of just deal with. You know, it's like, just go day by day, do what makes you happy, and learn and grow, and just go from there.
Yeah, and I think it's also, it puts artists in an awkward position sometimes, because it's like, all right, a year goes by, 2 years go by, right? It's like let's say what song we're talking, Summertime, right?
Yeah.
You look back at, was that the song you said, like, you look back and you're like, I wouldn't really perform that anymore, you know what I mean, because I've grown from that.
I mean, I still do, but yes, it's something that I'm trying to get off my set list eventually.
Yeah, like, you know, like, you look, there's certain songs you look back and you're like, all right, yeah, like, I wouldn't do that as much now, as like, because I feel like I've grown so much as an artist, and it's hard to live in the time period you are now and release your music now. And although you might think your music is the shit, like, you know, like, and also have in the back of your head, I could grow so much, you know, like, for example, personally, because I don't have any music that I could compare it to, you know, because I've only reached 7 days. Like, and how long ago was that?
The Melting Mindset.
The Melting Mindset, yeah, the Melting Mindset stuff, I could definitely agree, because some of the Melting Mindset songs would, like, for example, our EP, when our EP came out, right?
That was good.
It was like, you know, like, all of us had our own kind of song that came out, and I look back at it, and, you know, I think I had the, well, how nice would it be if we could spend eternity, right?
Yeah.
Like, when I released that, I was like, I look back at it and I was like, in that moment, I remember working on the song. I remember just going on the piano and being like, I wrote the melody, and in that song you have a little like piano kind of solo, like synthy thing, and I was so proud of it. And I was
smooth.
like, it was great. And I look back at it now and I'm like, you can't be over obsessed with comparing yourself to everybody else, but you also kind of have to be like, okay, I look back, and if you asked me then, like, I would have never accepted, like, you could do better, or I don't like that song, you know? And the best way I could compare it now is like my podcast, you know? When I was releasing my first 5 episodes of the podcast back when I was in my bedroom, nobody couldn't not tell me that shit wasn't hilarious and wasn't like top tier production, like, and shit. And like, I was joking around about it. Shout out Scarlett XO, who I've had on before. She's a great artist. You know, I had 3 episodes where like basically bringing up eating ass like every episode, you know what I mean? And it's like, all right, cool. The first episode is kind of funny when you bring that up, but like, you know, when you're doing the second episode and it's like, you know, you're talking about something completely different and you just go into like a random topic and it's like, all right, we get it, you know? And you like, and back then looking at them being like, oh, my production was so great. And then moving to Oli P and being like, oh shit, now this production's great. Like, this is how good it's going to get.
And now you're here.
And now in the studio and it's like, oh, this is how good it can get. And then kind of accepting how great it is now, but also being like, all right, there's also time to improve and move on to the next thing, right? And it's hard to have that balance, you know, have that balance of like, enjoy everything you have now, perform it to the best of your abilities, fucking milk the shit out of it, but just know the next horizon is right over there. But it's only over there if you chase it, you know?
You have to start at square one to get to the next one, and the next one. You got to start somewhere. Yeah. Until you get there. And you still don't know where there is. Like for me, I still don't know where there is, but like my there hopefully is at a label, but I have to do a hop and a skip in order to get there. And then, you know, I feel like the place where I'm at now is a perfect place where I have the sources to do what I want. I have the connects, I have the networking down, and I'm in a better place where I'm starting to write again. I'm writing new stuff. I'm trying different styles, you know, like, and like, that's the same thing with you. I mean, like, there's people who are doing podcasts all over now. Like that's the new trend. But like the way that you're doing it is, you know, you started again in your bedroom to like this, you know, you didn't just like one day boom spend all your cash on like a place like this. Like you worked your way up to that, and that's what it is. You have to like start somewhere to get there. And maybe you're gonna struggle, maybe you're gonna eat ramen for 10 days until you get there and drink a lot of beer and be like, fuck, like where is my life going from here? But each day you put in the work, it'll get there, and that's the important thing.
Facts. You know, I think this is something we haven't talked about too much, actually. What is the goals for Lupe in the next upcoming years? Like, what are you looking for to get out and get from this music journey?
Well, a label is definitely up there. I want to be signed somewhere. I want to quit my 9-to-5 and like be able to do this full time. That is my goal. I want to be able to play better on the guitar. That's definitely something I'm working on. I'm pretty good, but like I want to get better, just do better. I want to play a show in NYC and get over my fear, because I love going over there, but like the subway freaks me out a lot, and I don't talk about that a lot because it's embarrassing. Like, oh, like you just follow the steps on Google Maps and like you'll get there. And I'm like, yeah, but it's like the mental anxiety it takes to do that, you know?
Girl, I understand you, because listen, you get into the subway and you try to open your Google Maps, but there's no GPS signal or anything, so then you get all confused. Yeah, I know I'm not helping you right now, but I'll tell you, preparation is always key.
The 5G won't help me if I lose my signal.
Yeah, the best thing is just to look at the maps, learn how to read old school style, because the subways could get very anxiety ridden. Even I know how to do the subway, and I even get fucking anxiety from it, because you miss your stop and it's like fuck. You don't want to end up in the wrong part of Manhattan, for sure.
But that's something I definitely want to work on, you know, in the next few years, is just being able to explore and not being like afraid of that and taking more leaps. I feel like I've gotten like low key like bullied a little bit by people for like not doing that enough, and that really, again, that comes from the mental anxiety of like, am I gonna get lost, like where am I gonna go, and also is it gonna be worth it? And I think at this point, I'm 23 years old. This is the youngest I'm gonna be. Today is the youngest I'm gonna be. Tomorrow I'll be day older, so I gotta start to do this now. You know, if I want it, I have to go grab it. And like another thing for me is, in the next few years, besides the music stuff, I actually want to put out a book. I have a poetry book. It's been written actually for, I want to say about like a year and a half, but I haven't put it out. But it's something I'm looking to do, just like an Amazon deal, just throw it up there. If people want to get, you know, like the paperback, they could grab it. It's definitely a goal of mine. And what else? I hopefully want to fall in love. That's in my 5-year plan, though. That is in my 5-year plan, though. No, I definitely, like, in my life, I want to be surrounded by people who are also creative. And that doesn't just mean in the podcast space or the music space or something, but just someone who wants to achieve goals, wants to chase after dreams and stuff like that. And that's definitely something I've definitely missed in the past, but definitely I just want to be in a space, in a mental space. I want to continue to be at peace and also, again, achieve all my goals within the next 5 years. So for me, that would be success to me.
Sick. Lupe, we're coming pretty close to the end of the podcast.
We are.
It's wild. It's wild.
Sad.
Is there anything else that you wanted to get off your chest or you wanted to talk about? Like, I just want to make sure, like, I give you the floor.
I hate when you put me on spot like this. You always do this.
It's part of the pod. It's part of the pod. And trust me, I don't think this is going to be the last time we'll have a podcast again.
I don't think so.
Definitely. Whenever you come out with your next album, we'll definitely have to promote it with the pod, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I think the last thing I want to say is give yourself time to heal and get better. It gets better, and oh my God, I'm crying. You're making me cry. I feel like I'm in a space where I could talk to you and like the tears are going to flow because I'm going to say some deep shit.
It's all good. Let them flow.
It gets better, and just remember that the people who care, they're going to stick in your corner, and just keep fighting and you're going to get there. And I think that's what I'm going to leave it on.
I love it, Lupe. I love it. Lupe, much love for you. Thank you for coming on the pod. It's always a great time whenever you come here.
I love being here.
Let the people know where they could find you.
At Lupe Dragon on IG, on Twitter, on YouTube, on TikTok. It's Lupe the Dragon, and I'm on Spotify and Apple and on Amazon and YouTube again, so go and check me out.
And guys, y'all already know the business. Ayoo Chill Podcast, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We have an OnlyFans that I have not posted anything up on. Yes, we have an OnlyFans. We have an OnlyFans. And the first person to DM me a picture of them being the first person to subscribe on our OnlyFans will get a free t-shirt and stickers. If you're not the first person and you don't DM me a screenshot of it, it doesn't count. Do we have merch? The answer is no, but we're working on it. Guys,
Louise is gonna post feet pics on OnlyFans.
Yo, you're not the only person who said that. Listen, if you want to pay for my feet pics, you can have them.
No, thank you. No.
Lupe, let's get out of here, yo.
Oh yes.
What a great. Come here, Lupe. Give me a hug, yo.